A few years back, a friend called me looking for help. He told me that he and his wife might not make it through retirement unless they made some drastic changes. I said, "John, you guys just retired. How are you already running out of money?" John said that his broker ran a simulation that said they'd run out of money in their 80s. I was confused. John had done very well over his career, so I asked him to send over the report and I'd take a look. And yeah, it wasn't good. The simulation that John mentioned is called a Monte Carlo simulation. It's a tool that financial advisors use to try and predict the probability of your money lasting through retirement. For my clients, I regularly analyze their investments, review their spending, and make a few projections and then run the analysis. The result is a graph that looks something like this. There are 3 things to look out for on the chart. First is the light blue area on the graph. The bottom edge of this cone hits 0 somewhere around 78 years old. That means if the markets have a bunch of awful years and perform way below average, John and Ann's money might last them until 78. It's unlikely, but it's possible. On the flip side, the upper part of the light blue cone means that they might have way more money at 93 than they even have today. But for that to happen, their investments have to perform better than they ever have in history. Also unlikely. For those of you who are into statistics, the light blue cone represents 2 standard deviations from the mean, which is represented by the blue line in the middle. So this light blue area encompasses all but the most extreme scenarios possible. But what's likely to happen is that over time, John's accounts will track somewhere in the dark blue cone. Unfortunately, there's still a good chance their money will only last until 83. But what are the overall chances that John and Ann don't run out of money according to this Monte Carlo simulation? 38%. Now, a 380 batting average is great in baseball, but it's terribly low when we're thinking about comfortably riding off into the sunset. So I called John and I asked him how this was possible. Didn't they have a gorgeous house in Dallas and one down in Galveston too? Those houses have to be worth a lot these days. John said that's true, and he even shared his balance sheet with me. When I saw that John and Ann were worth $3.2 million, it didn't surprise me. Being retired in your 60s with $3.2 million is typically a recipe for success. But having done this many times over the years, I knew exactly what was happening here. "John, how much are you spending?" John said that they were spending over $7,500 per month after paying all their housing expenses. Outside of food and utilities, they spent their money on things like tailgating on Saturdays for home games with old college friends. John played in a golf league every week with his friends, and played in the local tennis league, and they went on one nice vacation every year. Given what they'd saved, I knew that that wasn't completely unreasonable. So I knew what the problem was. With their 2 houses, John and Ann also had 2 mortgage payments, 2 property tax bills, 2 homeowners insurance policies, 2 sets of utility bills, including all that air conditioning, and double the annual maintenance each year. I told John that they could probably afford one house in retirement, but not both. John was conflicted. Their entire social life was in Dallas, but their grandkids were 6 hours away in Galveston. I asked John, "What are you gonna do?" He didn't know. He had just gotten the report and hadn't told Ann yet. I said to John, "Tell your broker to see what the analysis looks like when you sell one of the houses." A week went by and I checked in with John to see how he was doing. Turns out, John sat down with Ann and they had a hard but important discussion. In their discussion, they came up with a plan. They decided to sell their home in Dallas because their grandkids were more important than their social life. John and Ann would still travel to a few home games every year to tailgate with their old college friends. And they would visit friends in Dallas regularly to keep in touch with everybody. Ann would go on a girls' trip every year with her friends to stay connected with them. And John would host a guys' golf weekend every year in Galveston. When John emailed me the updated Monte Carlo report, it looked something like this. As you can see, the new plan doesn't crash and burn. The dark blue cone in this graph, which represents the most likely scenarios, doesn't hit 0 for them, even if they live into their 90s. So what were John and Ann's new chances of not running out of money in retirement? 85%. That's a huge difference. Whenever I run these simulations for my clients, I like to see their Monte Carlo probabilities fall somewhere between 70% and 90%. John and Ann put their Dallas house on the market immediately, and it went under contract soon thereafter. But then we had a conversation about John and Ann becoming clients, so We could not only monitor their retirement plan going forward, but we could also start planning ahead for the taxes on John's IRA distributions in the future. It's another issue that they hadn't thought about. Now, the final important piece of John and Ann's retirement income was when to start taking Social Security. So if you're wondering when is the best age for you to take your Social Security, then check out this video. I'll see you there.